Thanks for joining us. Now, in our first story, there is mounting tension in the Manya Krobo traditional area as all 6 divisional chiefs have severed ties with their paramount chief and have subsequently elevated themselves to the status of paramount chiefs. The move comes after several accusations of power abuse against the paramount chief, Nene Sakite II. The declaration, according to the divisional chiefs, is to make Manya Krobo states revert to pre-Connorship Council, which ruled the Manya Krobo people for over 500 years. At a news conference to declare themselves paramount chief, Nene Opatakla Sasreku IV, who spoke on behalf of the 6 chiefs, accused the current Kono, Nene Sakite II, of abusing his power in several significant deeds and actions, including alleged disregard of all customs and traditions of Krobo land. He also blamed the paramount chief for courting for himself what they say is unnecessary litigations.
500 years before 1835. You are Manya Krobo State, Manya, Susui, Akwenondom, Kewa, and Gibeon clans were independent divisions of equal power and which presided and run independently by their Wetu Machamen, that is the divisional chiefs. The Anikaka Council is now replaced with the Manya Krobo Council, to which all the 6 divisions will have replaced with the Manya Krobo Council, to which all the 6 divisions will have equal say, influence, and exercise power, and not sufficient to the overlord. The divisions will therefore be elevated to the status of paramountcy, headed by the 6 paramount chiefs of equal status, statutes, and ranking to establish among themselves a rotation order to ascend the presidency of Manya Krobo Council every 2 years. The paramount chief who ascends the presidency of the Manya Krobo Council, Manya Krobo Council, with all the powers vested in him to perform all functions as president, is first among equals and vested in him the authority to run the council for a 2-year term of office. By rotation and order established by declaration, the next eligible paramount chief takes up the position of president of the Manya Krobo Council. The similar authoritative act of Nene Sakite II to give an authorized foreigner, a Kuwaiti national, to dig and desecrate and destroy the Krobo mountain with consultation of no Manya Krobo people, rather the divisional chiefs or the citizens of Manya.
We stay with this story, and correspondent Kofi Siao is on this beat and joins us live. Kofi, what have you gathered from the other factions that's the paramount chief being accused?
Well, while the divisional chiefs have gathered, addressing the media and putting forward their concerns to the public, the paramount chief himself and some other sub-chiefs have gathered in front of the palace in Odumase Krobo and were, as part of activities, marking this year's festival. So they were at the palace marking some activities in there. So they've not been able to stick to the issue itself. I'm sure with time they're going to address the issue.
So what is the current situation in the town now?
Well, the current situation in the town, I can fairly describe it as quite tense because the divisional chiefs, they claim, are supposed to be part of the celebration of the festival, but they decided to cut ties with the paramount chief. So, as I speak, the paramount chief and the other sub-chiefs are doing their own thing, whilst the divisional chiefs and their people are also, kicking against the decision of the paramount chief to celebrate this year's festival.
Thank you very much, Kofi Siao, for joining us. Now, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Love and Insura FM's sanitation enforcement team has caused the arrest of caretakers of 3 hostels found dislodging liquid waste into the Atiase community. The private hostels at Ayodiasi News site on the outskirts of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology face legal action for their actions. Now, Caesars Palace, Sab and Afrani hostels are the culprits who pose health risk to enraged but helpless residents who now find solace in the sanitation campaign by KMA and Love Insura FM. Some aspects of this report may be offensive to sensitive viewers.
The smell of feces and stagnant water deliberately spilled through these exposed PVC pipes fill the air here at Abembebom suburb.
These pipes, as you can see them lining all around, is not carrying water or oil. It's not transporting anything, food. It's just pure, raw, liquid waste, toilet, coming in from the hostels around. And it fills the environment with the stench and infestations that we are talking about. And people are directly affected by these.
Residents say they can no longer bear the nuisance after persistent complaints had fallen on deaf ears.
And anytime they discharge their toilet into this so-called pipe system, I can't sleep in my room. I have to move into the hall.
Why is that?
Because the smell, you can't bear the smell. Apart from that, look at the, where my gate is. You know, you have to jump this dirty water before you can enter my house. And even from the gate, before you enter the house, the whole place is smelling, which is unhygienic.
Na PSC no papa o mane bo be no numo on paso dem just I have fear I guess bibi.
Look at this house, Caesars Palace. We complained, we reported this several times, but the man don't care because
we traced the pipes to these 3 private hostels. At Afrani Hostel, there were indications the toilet flowed directly into the open.
come here. So this is deliberate targeting of effluents through drains, and as you can see, this is direct. It's coming from toilet, coming in from the hostel, goes over the wall and directly goes into drains.
Caesars Palace Hostel had done a similar connection linking this septic tank to the street. The environment is inundated with raw human waste, while Saab Hostel had directed all its wastewater into this pipe, which also leads into open trenches. The enforcement team sealed some of the pipes with concrete and destroyed others as abatement notices were served and notices of legal action communicated. Godfred Ba and Simon Adangeba led the sanitation enforcement team.
And we are going to alert all the landlords to remove all these pipes.
So I'm going to prepare the customers for them tomorrow.
For who?
Yeah, for the hotel hostels that have connected their effluent into the drain.
Erastus joins me on the line with the latest. Erastus, give us the details on what has happened post this report.
Well, so we sealed some of the pipes, as you saw in the report. This morning, we learned from the residents that some of them have reopened these locked pipes, and they are still spewing the menace through the community. So the sanitation enforcement team and the Oforikum Municipal Assembly Environmental Office, we teamed up with our military men. We've gone there. We've arrested the caretaker of the Caesars Palace Hostel. The 2 other hostels, the caretakers ran before we could get there. And so we've come to the
KNUST police station, where we are filing a formal complaint, and then later we'll serve the others with a court summons.
Thanks, Erastus, and we'll come back for updates as and when we have those summons. Back here in Accra, the District Magistrate Court has handed a fine of 480 Ghana cedis to a 74-year-old landlord. Madam Rachel was one out of 3 people in court who owned a house without a toilet facility. She has also been given 3 months to construct one. Failure to construct the toilet will attract a 600 cedi fine daily. Nancy Emefa Jodosi has been speaking to some of the offenders and joins me with more. Emefa, how many people are expected to appear before the court today?
Right, Daniel. So today about 15 individuals are supposed to be here. 15 including some of these persons that were fined or, were given notices by the Joy Clean Ghana campaign team. And so some of them, including the people who were grinding the corn mill, the people that were found in North Kaneshi who had raw excreta in their homes, all these individuals are part of the 15 that are supposed to appear before court. But I must say that, Daniel, it's already midday, and so far we've heard about 12 of these cases. Now, out of these 12 cases, 3 of them have been fined. All these 3 persons are houses without toilets. So the first woman, with a 74-year-old woman, was fined with 480 Ghana cedis. The 2 other gentlemen have also been fined 960 Ghana cedis each by the magistrate court. And also the 9 other persons remaining did not appear in court today. And so the judge issued a bench warrant for their arrest for failing to appear in court.
Emefa, what has been the posturing of these 3 offenders?
Just like Daniel, we usually go on the tours. They usually say that, oh, I'm not the owner of the house, or I was not around. In fact, almost all these 3 individuals who appeared before court today told the judge that yes, they live in the house, but the house is not for them. Or when the trouble was happening, I was not around. So one way or the other, they are finding, they are giving excuses, but they eventually come back to plead that yes, they agree that they are at fault and that they have pleaded guilty. And that is where the court decides to give them the fine that has been handed over to them.
Thank you very much, Emefa Jodosi, for joining us. Away from that story, 3 families of the 4 missing Takoradi girls declared dead by the Ghana Police Service at the police headquarters to demand the remains of bones retrieved from a septic tank around the residence of the prime suspect, Samuel Udotek, Wales. Western Regional Correspondent Inathalia Kwanza is with the families and joins me with an update. Ina, have the families met the police hierarchy yet?
Yes, Daniel, they have been in a crunch meeting for the past 1 hour. The police and the families has been a closed-door meeting. There was a 16 delegation from Takoradi. They set up around 3 a.m. to this place, and they have been in that meeting, as I said earlier, for 1 hour. The media was left behind. But before they went into the meeting, I had engaged them to find out more from them that what exactly are they coming to demand for. They had said that they are coming to demand for the bones that was retrieved. And then secondly, they want a report of the DNA test that they did, because the police had not brought them a copy when they came to inform them about about the DNA test confirming that the girls are there. They had not brought any documented evidence. But I'm here with Michael Hayford, who is the spokesperson of the family. Hello.
Right, Ina.
Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, you can hand the phone to Michael so we have a conversation.
Okay.
Right, Michael, if you can hear me, yes, Michael, if you can hear me, our condolences once again.
Good afternoon.
Great, good afternoon. Yes, you can go ahead.
But as I'm saying, I depend on Oma on Castle Bay. It's why and there about an young police hospital. Namza, I want to wear test, I don't know why you know. Young Canaan. This is about a year, 2 years, and a Yakone, 1 year for police hospital, Yakoheza, or when a Sana and some mother of Waba.
Michael, Abadina Walker Show Police Hospital.
What a year I young Koyan Dumpena, I go to what is who now why test young Kohe and Sana.
Okay, into Hona don't pay na reports no.
I want to watch the report no.
Na dompino wo ha.
Ana sisi ayelo kwe ye kwa ni busi nyonga dompino wo ha no nuwa. So ye dina na ye dina. Atana ye timi ko ata ye beden che beji dompino akọ. But according to one kasem no a che gira no kokọ. Ntima mdawo mam kon de ye kokọ fe.
Okay.
Kede bimpo ye plan ye paneka ye test mpa. Untum mpa adina man ni sentina he ya ba ka kada adina ye dia.
Okay.
Ye dia na gide. Obutu amenye bimi da ka ya ansana. Wotumina wa ye yi ani asama ye ya otu.
Na sisi awenya baby a se won saka ya
Oh anya na ba tan ya bed nche mu so de ni ha mpo me na nche ya de ade bako.
Na wenya baby a what be a test na.
Oh ani da no so odu ha ya me be kire abo kwa mfa no ba fa.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. Michael spoke a can with me. He says they just wrapped up a meeting with the IGP. The IGP has asked them to proceed to the police hospital where the remains of their family members are currently being kept. That is where they understand the results for the DNA test are also available for them to see. Now, he says he was unclear as to whether the remains will be released to them for them to carry out their independent tests. He says that that was their desire, but it's unclear to them whether or not those remains can be released to their possession today. I asked him whether they already have a forensic laboratory somewhere that they would carry out these tests. He says that they just want the remains to be returned to them, after which they would take the next necessary steps. Away from that story, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Quay, has asked the clerk to dispatch a senior officer to drag both the Deputy Fisheries Minister and the Chief Director to appear before the House and answer questions on the sector before today's adjournment. The Minister, Nafole Quay, was scheduled to appear before the House and answer questions regarding her ministry, but failed to show up. My colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, joins me with more on this subject. Kwesi, why is the Speaker taking such a step?
Right, so, Daniel, the Speaker is egged by the consistent absence of the said minister, and I'm making reference to the minister responsible for fisheries and aquaculture. Now, these three questions were filed before Parliament went on recess. So the MPs are saying that the minister knew about the questions, she had already prepared her answers, and were expecting that she appears before the House. And again, the Speaker himself indicated that it becomes a culture for some of the ministers, and that clearly is disrespecting the House. And so for him, going forward, they will not accept behaviors like that. And that is why he's asked the clerk to dispatch a senior officer to fetch both the Deputy Minister and the Chief Director to come and answer the questions. And my checks are that the officials already at the ministry, the Fisheries Ministry, hoping to get the minister, the Deputy Minister, and also the Chief Director to appear before the House and answer the question. So we are waiting for the House to resume from suspension, and when they are done, then we'll know what the directive will be.
Right, Parker, pardon me, the line is a bit unclear, but I'd like to know if the majority proffered any explanation for the absence of the Fisheries Minister, considering that she's also a member of Parliament.
Right. The majority leader himself, Osagyemi Sabotu, indicated that the minister was on an official assignment out of the jurisdiction, and that is why she's absent in Parliament today to answer the question.
What about her deputies?
Yeah, the deputy was not in Parliament. The deputy, let me say, the deputy is a member of Parliament, the Ekufi MP, that is the deputy for the Fisheries Ministry. But he is not in Parliament today. We don't know the reason why he's not in Parliament. And so the Speaker is asking that if the sector minister or the substantive minister is not there, at least he or she could delegate the Deputy Minister or the Chief Director of the ministry to come and answer the question, because these are questions regarding the ministry. And the belief is that both the Minister, the Deputy Minister, and the Chief Director do have a better appreciation of what is happening within the ministry, and they are competent and capable to answer any questions on the floor of the House.
Parker, I know the minority has been raising issues about two-tag. Can you brief us about what more is happening on the floor of the House?
Okay, so with the suspension, in fact, the majority leader had wanted the Speaker permission to actually adjourn sitting for today, because if you look at the order paper, there's not much to do in the House. The minister was supposed to appear and answer the questions. And since she was not there, the majority suggested that, well, they should adjourn sitting for today and come tomorrow. Hopefully, the deputy minister or the chief director would have been in the House to answer the question. But the Speaker denied that and said that they should go and bring them. The majority leader's point was that the committee had to sit. Of course, there's going to be budget very soon, so some of the committees have to sit and discuss certain issues, and that is why he was proposing for today's adjournment, but the Speaker denied. And so for now, it's on suspension, waiting for the Deputy Minister and the Chief Director to appear before the House, and then they'll continue with the procedure. Because when they answer the question, that is when the other members of Parliament will do follow-ups and also get an understanding of what is happening within the ministry. But just before I go, Daniel, I had a conversation with the ranking member of the Education Committee regarding the strike, the tutor strike, and he has indicated that, he's blaming government for what is happening because he says he is aware that as part of the convention, they stated that they shouldn't disadvantage the lecturers, and in terms of remuneration. And since 2017, the lecturers have completed all the processes for them to be migrated onto the public university salary structure. So he is questioning why government is delaying, and says that it will be wrong for him to ask the lecturers to go back to the lecture hall and go and lecture the students. So he is backing the strike by tutor.
Thank you very much, Parker Wilson, for joining us this afternoon. Now, the Ghana Statistical Service has launched a platform to recruit 63,000 enumerators for the 2020 population and housing census. Speaking on the sidelines of the inauguration of the Publicity, Education and Advocacy Committee, Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim said the enumerators Bureau platform will continue to engage the field workers even after the census in order to help build a human resource base for the agency.
Ghana Statistical Service is doing something differently this time around, and what we are doing is we want to create a path, a career path for enumeration. So unlike previous censuses and surveys where on an ad hoc basis we recruit people to come in for a survey and lay them off just after that, what we've done is to launch what we are calling an enumerators bureau. The essence of creating this bureau, as I indicated, is to get people who over time consistently collect data, have built capacity, have a good relationship with households, and have a good relationship with data collection institutions. Currently, what we are doing is to get Ghanaians to enroll on this platform, and this platform is an accreditation and certification platform. What we mean by accreditation is that we look at your profile and say that you have that credibility to be engaged. We look at your background, education, and your employment characteristics, and that will tell us whether you fit to be a supervisor, you fit to be a data quality monitor. And as I said, in the long term, we get people graduating from data collection and ultimately to people who can write reports and policy and briefs that we will need for the country's development.
Professor Enim said the census will be largely driven by technology to ensure efficiency. His outfit is securing 70,000 tablets for field workers to collect data.
We find people at the right places at the census night or during the census period. So the three cardinal issues that I talked about had to do with everyone being counted once, and being counted at the right place. Further to this, what we want to share with members has to do with the uniqueness of the 2020 population and housing census. Honorable, this is the first time that as a country we'll be doing a digital census. And what that means is that we're going to use tablets to collect data, And Ghana Statistical Service is not limiting its technological exposure to the use of only tablets, but is going to deploy different technologies to ensure that there is accuracy, there is reliability, and the work of this committee relies on trust. And that is why we want to put in technology to ensure that the trust that you need to carry out your activity is in place. So in addition to the use of CAPI, what Ghana Statistical Service is doing in terms of technology is to develop an app that will sit on every Ghanaian that owns a mobile phone. And what this app is supposed to do is to educate Ghanaians, and we are hoping that this committee would help us harness the full potential of this app once it's developed. One other feature about this app is that during the census exercise, if you live in a locality where you are able to track our engagement and for one reason or the other you had a bad experience or your household was not enumerated, through this app you should be able to tell us that this is your experience, and quickly would mobilize efforts to ensure that this is addressed.
Well, the Statistical Service is working with other agencies like the NIA in order to consolidate data for national planning. Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah said the census will aid government in developing policies and programs, especially at the regional and district level.
The country has been very conscious of the benefits of censuses and its importance to national development. In recent times, countries all over the world, Ghana inclusive, have depended heavily on census data and demographics to guide in planning, policy formulation, and administration. The 2020 population census is expected to provide a reliable database for policy reviews and ensure systematic improvement in the implementation of government's ongoing interventions here in this country.
Now, Communication Minister Esther Ose-Akufo has waded into the PDS contracts termination saga, insisting government went into the deal with all good intent. She therefore thinks government should be commended for detecting the challenge and subsequently terminating the deal. Speaking on the Super Morning Show with me this morning, Mrs. Ose-Akufo called for a ceasefire in the wake of the rage against government for the sudden manner in which it was cancelled, and without any recourse of the consequences.
Well, I think we all need to realize that electricity generation distribution is a key utility. We can't do without power. And so any issue surrounding power should be of great concern to the government. Their entry into the compact was well-intentioned. There are issues, major issues there that need to be fixed. But if the company, and we all lose sight of the fact that it isn't government which oversaw the procurement process in this, it is Midday and the American government. They said the whole process was managed by them, with government as a key stakeholder observing, more or less, and they running some of the issues by them. And then we decide that this is of key interest to us, so please focus on this area, particularly the shareholding structure. I mean, it's our asset, and so to make us 20% shareholder in that was an honor. And so when we took office, the president insisted, and rightly so, that the majority shareholding should come to government. Now, if one of the key conditions, to Ghana, if one of the key conditions in the agreement is not maintained, and the guarantee is meant to protect us in the event of default in the management of our asset, and so it should be of interest to us. And so if they are mandated to provide an insurance bond, and at the end of the day, it turns out that there are major issues with it, should we overlook it? Now, if they continue to manage this asset and there is a problem and they default or our asset is damaged in any way, how do we get protection from it? So this is a fundamental condition of the contract, which they were unable to meet. Should government just have glossed over it?
Now, at a news conference yesterday, Deputy Energy Minister William Oreku Edo assured there will be no job losses to workers But energy expert Ishmael Ejekumhene, who is also commissioner at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, told JoyNews that will be determined by the new managers if they would have need for the current number of the workforce to run their operations. He spoke to Enimwa Enimado in a Skype interview on News Desk.
No, as for job losses, even when the private sector entity was coming in, government guaranteed the jobs of the staff, and it was one of the main agitations, sticking points when they were negotiating the concession. So I don't think if we have any concerns, it will have to do with job losses. But so jobs will be secured, I would imagine, and because government didn't even want to sack people when the private sector was coming to take over.
Okay, when you say that government guaranteed the jobs, what exactly do you mean?
Basically, the concessionaire was forbidden from sacking anybody who still wanted to work with ECG and is an existing staff. So virtually the entire staff, human resource of ECG, numbering something like close to 7,000 were transferred en bloc to the new concession.
In your expert opinion, do you think that we need that many people working for the company?
That was always an issue because I didn't think so, but you remember the opposition that the unions put up against this whole concession, and it was one concern that some of us had, and we probably still have, because then if you saying that keep those same staff strengths and even if they are not needed, but unfortunately it was a decision that nobody was prepared to compromise. The government didn't want anybody to lose his or her job. So yes, the PDS were asked to keep everybody who still wanted to work in the utility, and nobody was fired.